Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. It is the not so instant match reaction to Southampton 1, Everton 2. Finally, Everton have won away from home yet again. I've finally witnessed Everton win away from home. I've travelled all around the world to watch Everton in various different countries, all around this country to watch Everton in various different cities and towns, and yesterday was the first time that I managed to witness Everton win away from home. I apologise that this instant match reaction isn't very instant and it's actually the day after. The reason for that being because Everton managed to win away from home, I maybe went a little bit too heavy on the alcoholic beverages, namely a beverage that seemed to wind everybody up on Twitter for some random reason, and that was rosé wine. And by the time I'd got home yesterday at around about 11 o'clock, half 11, something like that, it was A, a little bit late, and B, I was a little bit worse for wear. So I thought, you know what, I'll go to bed, I'll wake up in the morning, and we'll do it in the morning instead. But what a win that was, back-to-back wins for Everton, unbeaten now in 7 games, of course. 2 wins on the bounce after that win against West Ham United before the international break. And again, I said it in the preview on Friday going into this one. Yesterday was always a very, very winnable game. It was always going to be a difficult game. It was always going to be a game in which we had to work hard, in which we had to be our best, because Southampton are a team that have got, players in there that can certainly hurt you. The likes of Che Adams, the likes of James Ward-Prowse, Stuart Armstrong, of course. Players that, if you allow them space, if you allow them time, if you allow them room to manoeuvre the ball, they can certainly make you pay for that. And Everton haven't got the greatest record away at Southampton in recent years. We had a couple of years where we managed to pick up wins on the bounce. I remember under Roberto Martinez, we were particularly good there, but in recent years we haven't been very good down at St Mary. So yesterday was always going to be difficult, but I always felt like this was a game that Everton could and probably should be winning, given how well we've been playing in recent weeks. As I said, unbeaten in 7 games. Okay, we had 4 draws on the bounce in the Premier League, but the last time out, the win against West Ham was almost seemed like a bit of a catalyst performance for us to be able to build on. And we've all been sitting here over the last, month or so talking about how much more improved Everton are, how much better we look defensively, how much stronger and more organised we look in midfield. However, we've all been talking about, the wins and when the wins will start coming. And after West Ham, it was almost like, right, okay, we've got that first win on the board now. Can we go and build on that? And yesterday, we certainly did build on that. Resilience, fight, desire, effort, commitment, everything was there yesterday. And do you know what? I absolutely love this football club to bits. I always have and I always will. But there have been times in the last 24 years of supporting Everton Football Club where there's been teams, where there's been managers, where there's been, periods of the club where I haven't loved the team. I've still loved the football club, of course, because we all love the football club and that will never leave. But there's been periods in recent history where I haven't loved the team hasn't been very likeable, the players haven't been very likeable, the attitude of the players hasn't been very likeable, the manager hasn't been very likeable. That is all very, very, very different now. This is one of, if not the most likeable Everton team that I've witnessed in my lifetime supporting this football club, and Frank Lampard is one of, if not the most likeable Everton manager that I've witnessed in my time supporting Everton Football Club. These players, every single one of them, to a man, gives absolutely everything. Fight, desire, commitment, passion, energy, quality. Whether it be Conor Cody, James Tarkowski, Amadou Onana, Adrissa Gana-Gueye, Seamus Coleman stepped in yesterday and was absolutely phenomenal. Jordan Pickford, Neil Maupay, Dwight McNeil, who had a fantastic game, I felt, yesterday. I know some people have said, other than the goal, he wasn't really involved. But when you're watching the game on a television, and this isn't a dig at anybody, or, this isn't me saying, it's a different experience, but it's just fact. When you're watching the game on a television, sometimes the cameras don't quite pick up how well a player has played, or what a player is doing off the ball, because it's focusing on what's happening on the ball, and it's focusing on, a certain player that might have had a moment a couple of minutes before that. It's not focusing all the time on what is actually happening in real time. And yesterday, being in that stadium and watching Dwight McNeil, that was his best performance in an Everton shirt by a long shot, not just because of his goal, which, by the way, is an absolutely phenomenal strike, but because of everything combined, his effort, his desire, his passion. He worked harder yesterday than I feel he's worked in recent weeks. As I said, He battled for every ball that he could. He fought defensively. He was getting back and he was putting the work in. He was putting the effort in. He's clearly much, much better on the left-hand side than he is on the right-hand side. So if he's going to play in this Everton team, for me, it's got to be on the left-hand side. But he was much, much better yesterday than what he was, than what he has been in recent weeks. And obviously he started over Anthony Gordon because Anthony Gordon, I believe, had some form of an illness or something that was keeping him out, fatigue or something like that, nothing too serious. But I really, really feel that Dwight McNeil took that opportunity, not just with the goal, which again will do him the world of good. I'm sure if you've seen his Instagram post, you'll have heard that he hasn't been in particularly the best way over the last couple of months with, mentally and physically. He says it himself. But his overall performance, I thought, was very, very, very good yesterday. And once again, we're sitting down talking about an Everton game, talking about an Everton performance, and Conor Cody got man of the match yesterday, and I don't think anybody could have argued against that, to be honest with you. He was absolutely phenomenal. He got his first Everton goal, of course, which is a really, really well taken finish after an unbelievable knockdown by Amadou Onana, by the way. I don't think people realise how clever that header down is by Amadou Onana. I don't think people quite realise how much football intelligence it takes for a player to be at the back post. Could have headed it towards goal, could have headed it back further, but he hasn't. In that split second, he saw Conor Cody and Neil Maupay standing in miles of space, and instead of heading it towards goal and trying to get the goal himself, he's gone for the better option. For a young lad of 21 years old, in a new league, in a new country, in a new team, do you know how much football intelligence that takes for him to have saw that run of Conor Cody and headed it right into his path? It was absolutely excellent. But my point is Conor Cody got man of the match yesterday, and again, I don't think anybody could really argue against it. But if it was given to, Seamus Coleman, if it was given to Jordan Pickford, if it was given to James Tarkowski, if it was given to Garner Gay, if it was given to, Amadou Onana, if it was given to Alex Iwobi, I don't think any of us would have argued either. And this is the same time we've been having this conversation for the last 4 or 5 weeks now, and that shows that for the last 4 or 5 weeks, if not longer actually, in these games of football that we're watching, there's 4, 5, 6, 7, if not more players that you could give man of the match. And if any one of them get man of the match, you can't really argue against it because they've all been absolutely fantastic. And as I said, this is the most likeable Everton team I can remember in a long, long, long time. We went 1-0 down yesterday, and in previous years when we've gone 1-0 down, our heads have dropped. The players haven't really been up for it, or there's almost been this acceptance of a defeatist mentality, and this is something that Frank Lampard addressed and quite openly spoke about last season, was the sort of the confidence levels when going 1-0 down, and how quick these players in this team at times was. I say this team, it's a completely different team, by the way. Only 4 players that started for Everton yesterday started in the defeat to Southampton at St Mary's last season. Iwobi, Coleman, Pickford, and I think it might have been Anthony Gordon, even though they didn't start for Everton, featured for Everton. They were the only 4 players that featured in last season's defeat to Southampton at St Mary's. Gray might have been one of them, and maybe Coleman wasn't. I don't know. Anyway, there was 4 players who featured yesterday that featured in the defeat last season, so it's a completely different team. But in previous years, when going 1-0 down, this team has lost its confidence, this team has lost its momentum, this team has lost any sort of rhythm it had in the game. And don't get me wrong, I don't think we had much rhythm in the game yesterday. I think we controlled the majority of the first half whilst not doing an awful lot. I don't think either team did an awful lot in the first half. In fact, it was a first half that it felt like the first whistle had been blown, and then you blinked and it was half time. Not an awful lot happened whatsoever. They had a couple of half chances, and by half chances I mean Che Adams had one where he shoots wide. I think they had a couple of wayward shots, pardon me, that went wide or went over the bar or never really troubled Jordan Pickford. And we had 1 or 2 half opportunities as well. Conor Cody had one where the ball come in and he gets to it and the goalkeeper gets to it first. But other than that, not a lot happened in that first half. But I always felt like Everton were in control. It always felt like, okay, it was 0-0. And I'm sure if you'd have spoken to a Southampton fan at half time, they'd have said this game's there for the taking, and they'd have said that they've got every right to go out in the second half and win it. But I always felt from that first half that Everton were the team on top, that Everton were the team in control, that Everton were the team that were more likely to win the game. And I always felt like, right, okay, we're away from home. We've just won last week. We've got confidence. We've got momentum. This is a game we should be going out and winning. Obviously, those questions start to pop up when we go 1-0 down in the second half, because, as I said, we've witnessed years and years and years of Everton teams without leaders in, without a winning mentality, without a battling mentality, without the the backbone to pick themselves up when going 1-0 down and, pull through it and go and get back in the game and go and get the win or go and get something out of the game. We've witnessed Everton teams who've gone 1-0 down and their heads have dropped and they've not particularly looked, happy, or they've not, we've gone and conceded again, and, maybe even sometimes we've gone and conceded another 2 or 3 times when going 1-0 down. You think back to, Aston Villa last year. Whereas we all know this, and I don't want to just keep repeating myself, but I feel like it's important to continue to drill down this point that this is a completely different Everton team. A completely different Everton. This is a completely different Everton Football Club. We've all banged on for the last year or so, if not longer, about how we haven't got an identity anymore, how the identity of Everton Football Club has been lost in recent years. I am now seeing an identity of Everton Football Club. I'm seeing grit, I'm seeing determination, I'm seeing fight, I'm seeing a manager that knows what it takes to set up to win. I'm seeing players that know what it takes to work hard, to battle, to fight for this football club, to go and win games. You look at the second goal, for example, and we'll talk about it in a second, but just before Everton scored our second goal, literally 30 seconds before, when it went 1-1, Southampton had an opportunity to make it 2-1. I think it was Tarkowski give a little ball away, and they got into the box. One of their players had a shot. It was saved by Pickford, and then they had another couple of opportunities right after it, and Michalenko was throwing himself at the ball, Cody was throwing himself at the ball, Coleman was throwing himself at the ball, Tarkowski, there was 2-3 players on the line to make sure if it went past, they were there to save it. It was that throw every part of your body in the way to deny a goal. And we did that. We managed to block the ball 2 or 3 times. And then, literally 32 seconds later, Iwobi plays a great ball into the box. Onana is fouled, by the way. So even if Dwight McNeil doesn't hit it in the way he does, it's a penalty all day long. But it forced Dwight McNeil. And, in that one moment, any problem or any fear or any sort of lack of confidence that Dwight McNeil has had over the past month or so, since joining Everton Football Club. And let's not forget, Dwight McNeil is 22 years old, 21 years old, coming to a new football club, a new team, He's just been relegated last season, so that will have taken a lot out of him. This is a young lad, and okay, listen, he's got a lot to learn, and he's got a lot of, a lot to improve on, and he's not particularly quick, so for him to play as a winger, he's going to have to learn a lot more about how he can sort of utilise his strengths to make sure that lack of pace isn't particularly, spotted. But regardless of all of that, he's still a young lad coming to a new football club and a new start after a difficult season, and all of that stress and anxiety and lack of confidence in recent weeks, you could tell at that one moment when that ball fell to his feet, it all drained out of him, and all he thought about was, I am twatting this right into the roof of the net. And it was an absolutely unbelievable finish, but it come from defenders and midfielders and Everton players in royal blue throwing everything they've got at a ball to deny a goal scoring chance for Southampton. We haven't seen that in previous years. That has not been there. That is Everton Football Club, by the way. That's it. That's the Everton I knew growing up watching the David Moyes Evertons, the Everton I knew, going to Goodison Park as a young lad and watching. That was Everton. You throw everything at it. You throw everything at the ball. You throw yourself at it. You give 110%. You leave that pitch with nothing else to give. That is an Everton that has been lost in recent years. And it now seems like, thanks to Frank Lampard and Kevin Thelwell and the signings that have been made, it now feels like that Everton is coming back. It was shown in abundance yesterday in what was a fantastic win. I mean, their goal is, again, it's a poor pass by Garner. Garner plays it straight into their midfield. I think one of their midfielders gets out to Che Adams. He puts it back into Aribo, and Aribo strikes it into the back of the net. And again, it was a poor goal to concede. It was a poor goal to give away, and it almost felt, certainly in that away end, that it was like, oh shit, Is this going to be another example of us not being able to get back into a game? Now, I mean, I remember last season going to watch Everton at various away grounds, or watching Everton at Goodison, and before Frank Lampard this was, and even before last season at times. And when we went 1-0 down, and this goes back to Marco Silva, this goes back to Ronald Koeman, this goes all the way back. When we go 1-0 down, you'd sort of know, okay, we're not winning this game. We're not winning this game. So at that point yesterday, when we went 1-0 down, in previous years, we'd have all sat there and gone, yeah, we're not winning this game, not a chance. Yesterday, there was a bit of that, because obviously that's natural, but I feel like there was more of a feeling of, right, pick yourselves up and get back in it. And the most important thing is that feeling of going 1-0 down and then thinking, yeah, we're not winning this, was instilled into the players in previous years. It was the players that were thinking, oh, we've gone 1-0 down now, so this game's over. Now it's not like that. Now we go 1-0 down and it's almost like the players go, no, that's not happening, we're winning this game. And within 44 seconds, we're 2-1 up. 44 seconds. The first goal, again, really, really good bit of play. We win the free kick. Great ball in. Onana with, as I said before, an absolutely unbelievable knockback right on Conor Coady's foot. And Conor Coady, I mean, is there a player on that pitch that deserves a goal more than Conor Coady? I don't know. I think you could argue that there isn't. It was an absolutely wonderful, wonderful ball in by Onana. Great knockdown. Conor Coady finishes well. And then we go again, as I've just said, throwing bodies on the line, blocking everything that was thrown at us. We get back up the other end. The Iwobi plays a great ball in. Onana's fouled in the box, but it falls to McNeil, and McNeil finishes wonderfully, absolutely wonderfully. At this point, by the way, I was stood right by the home end, so I was giving them a little bit of stick, as you do, a little bit of friendly banter, a little bit of friendly stick. When Coady actually scored his goal, I flew about 4 or 5 rows, and to be fair, there was a period of about 10 seconds where I was thinking, I don't know if I've been knocked out yet or if I'm still conscious or whatever, but I just flew about 4 or 5 rows because I just couldn't contain myself. The second goal went in and it was just complete euphoria. But yeah, again, it showed that resilience, that mentality, that never giving up desire and battle and that we have at this football club now. And that is Everton. That's Everton. That's all we ask. That is absolutely all we ask. And you look at some of the standout performers yesterday, as I said, okay, Garner give the ball away for their goal. But other than that, he was absolutely world class. Absolutely world class. He does everything with ease. Everything with ease. Whether it be, picking the ball up in the midfield and driving with it. Whether it be intercepting, a ball. Whether it be, just picking the ball. Everything that... Every time an opposition team are attacking, or every time an opposition team is getting at us or looking like they're growing in confidence to go and get a goal, Garner's just there to put his foot in, and it's just be like, there you go, yeah, it's not happening, lad. And end of the day, it's not happening. It's like Garner just goes, nah, fella, you're not getting through. Simple as that. You're not getting through. Every single time, and it goes under the radar because we're so used to him doing it, but since he's come back, and you realise how much we've missed having a player in there who just does all of that, just picks the ball up and just nicks the ball off players when they're running forward. It's so important. Onana yesterday was an absolute force, Iwobi in there, okay, he got a little bit tired and some of his passes were a little bit wayward, but again, he was phenomenal. Iwobi's managed to have not his best game and still be an 8.59 out of 10 yesterday. He was absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Neil Maupay, who, okay, didn't create an awful lot and wasn't on the end of any crosses or wasn't particularly involved in terms of, scoring or creating a chance. I think he had one shot which was blasted over the bar. But he ran round yesterday and he'd done what he needed to do, and that was open the space up for other players and piss the opposition players off. That's what he did. Somebody tweeted yesterday, I'm not really sure if Maupay knows what his role is, but he's just running around pissing people off, fair play. And I was like, that's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. But that is his role. That's part of his role. If you're not getting the ball, if you're not picking the ball up, then you make sure those defenders are having an awful time of it. And that's what he does. As we mentioned, Tarkowski, Coady, Jordan Pickford, coming back in from injury yesterday, phenomenal again. Just proving that there isn't a goalkeeper from this country that is even on the same stratosphere. I mean, I've just watched the match of the day then, and the highlights from match of the day, and okay, Newcastle absolutely wiped the floor with Fulham, but the goal that they conceded, it's woeful goalkeeping by Nick Pope. It won't be put in the paper because it's Nick Pope and it's not Jordan Pickford, but it's woeful. It's absolutely Sunday League goalkeeping by Nick Pope. It's woeful. In fact, I'm bored of having the best English goalkeeper argument. There's not many goalkeepers in world football that are better than Jordan Pickford. In fact, there's not 3 goalkeepers in the Premier League that are better than Jordan Pickford. It's as simple as that. He's in the top 3 goalkeepers in the Premier League. It is as simple as that. So, yeah, phenomenal. Again, a special shout out to Seamus Coleman, who stepped in. And, look, I'm not going to sit here and say I knew he'd play well. I did say I had confidence that he'd perform on Friday. But he stepped in for one of our most informed players, one of our best performers this season, and he's added that leadership to go alongside Cody and Tarkowski and Pickford, who are all natural leaders, and even Garner in there who's a natural leader. But he threw everything at it yesterday. He threw absolutely everything at it, and he was phenomenal, Seamus Coleman. He was absolutely fucking brilliant yesterday. Absolutely, and he deserves that, because a lot of people were a little bit worried, or maybe not too confident that he'd be able to come in and do a job, or maybe, is he going to be able to do it? He stepped in and he was absolutely brilliant yesterday, and he deserves a lot of praise for that. He deserves a lot of praise for that. We weren't great in the second half when we went 2-1 up, that must be said. We sat back a little bit and we maybe invited pressure on a little bit. Maybe we could have gone at them a little bit more, and when we went 2-1 up, we could have gone for the kill a little bit more. And, as I said, it wasn't particularly great after that second goal went in, but we saw the game out. We defended well. We done what we needed to do. They had a couple of half chances that, Pickford made a couple of good saves, and, they were defended well, but we saw the game out and we won. And whilst the first half I thought we were in control with not a lot happening, and the last 20-odd minutes when we went 2-1 up, we maybe stepped off a little bit, and when we shouldn't have done. For that 44 seconds, we were absolutely brilliant, and we were always in control. And, that's all that matters. And all that matters at the end of the day, whether we were battered for 90 minutes or whether we battered them for 90 minutes, all that happens at the end of the day is that the title of this video reads back-to-back wins for the Blues, and it reads that Everton have won away from home. That's all I give a shit about. Everton have won another game, unbeaten in 7, 2 wins on the bounce, and we've won away from home. And we've won away from home when going 1-0 behind, by the way. When was the last time we did that? Can somebody tell me? There'll be somebody who knows everything about Everton in the comments. Let me know. When was the last time Everton have won away from home going 1-0 down? Because last season we beat Brighton, we didn't go 1-0 down. We beat Leicester, we weren't 1-0 down. When was the last time Everton have won away from home after going 1-0 down? Dosbig says, hi Blues, onwards and upwards. It's right. Same old Everton says, how was that bottle of rosé on the way up? It was absolutely stupendous, mate. It was stupendous. And do you know what? I got a little bit of stick yesterday on the way up for having a bottle of rosé wine. I don't know why. I don't know why anybody, whether you're an Everton fan or whether you're because there was Everton fans there as well taking the piss. I don't know why. Whether you're an Everton fan, whether you're a fan of another club, I don't know why anybody is asked about what somebody else is drinking or what somebody else is doing on the way up to an Everton away game. But there were a lot of Reds that were seemingly upset at that tweet for some reason. A lot of Reds that were no longer seemingly upset on the way home when their team had once again embarrassed themselves, which is interesting that they go quiet when their team are awful, which is mad. Everton are now on the same points as the best team ever to have existed ever in the world and ever to have existed in any sport ever. Mark says, watching a different game to me, Cam McNeil gets a 5 from me, even with his goal. But as I said, listen, he wasn't massively involved. And I get people could say, he wasn't involved in much other than the goal. But I don't know whether you were there, Mark, or whether you weren't there. But he was much better than what he has been in recent weeks. He still wasn't amazing. I'm not sitting here saying he was a 10 out of 10. He was excellent. He took his goal really, really well. But the effort, the desire, the battle. First half, he was very absent. I'll say that. First half, he was very, very, very absent. But there wasn't much that happened in the first half anyway. But the second half, I thought he was much better than what he had been. Anne says, how have you managed to piss off half the Geordie Shore crew? I don't know, mate. I really, really don't know. They've got nothing better to do, have they? It's not like they had a game of football yesterday to focus on. They're just... Newcastle fans are strange, They're trying to create this weird rivalry with Everton where... There's not even a rivalry to be made. They're nowhere near as big of a football club as Everton. All right, they're in a better place now, temporarily, but that means nothing. Anyway, look, we are going to finish here there. If you have enjoyed this one, please do hit that like. We will be back with the player ratings in just a moment, so don't forget to look out for those. Everton have won away from home. Getting up the fucking toffees is right. If you have enjoyed this one, as I said, please do hit that like button. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. And if you're watching as a YouTube video, leave your thoughts down below. But a big thank you all for watching. What a win. Massive win. As I said, player ratings will be coming up shortly. And we'll see you later. Oh, I've somehow managed to press the wrong button. I don't know why I've done that. Up the fucking toffees. I'm probably still blathered. I'm going for another bottle of rosé wine. Disclaimer, I'm not. It's a Sunday. I'm going for a walk. Thank you.